Good morning and hello and welcome to Lightbulb Moments. This is episode number 188. Thanks for joining us today, whether you are with us live or you are listening to the podcast or watching the YouTube. We're glad you're with us. We're glad you're spending your ATM with us, the three currencies we have in life: attention, time, and money. And it's not lost on me that these precious commodities of yours you're sharing with us today, all but the money piece. So good morning to all of you. And before I get going, I also want to give a shout out to a couple of our sponsors, which is Lightheart Sanders, who is a CPA firm. They've been a legacy sponsor and a great partner for many years. So thanks to Lightheart Sanders. And then also Zenoti is a new sponsor, and love the work that Zenoti's doing, especially on the multi-location platforms. Anyway, shout out to all of them. So a light bulb moment is an inspiration. It's a thought. It's something that leads you into action. And today we are going to have as guests what I'd like to call a dynamic dyad, a dynamic duo. Now, before I get to them as guests, I had my own light bulb moment. I had my light bulb moment when I was preparing for this session with Chet and Amber, and it really has to do with the founding of Cunity and the name. And many of you probably don't even know what this is. So anyway, it sort of spurred me into a short little story and a little background on the founding of Cunity and its name. So for a little bit of context, I see the universe in pairs. I'm a Gemini. My name, Tom, means twin, and I live in the Twin Cities. And I've always been intrigued by the pairing of two supposedly disconnected areas to create a greater whole. So a little bit about my background. So I started out my career as a CPA, starting with large, national, very prestigious firm. And then gradually wound myself deeper into small business, working with creative entrepreneurs, which is really my passion. It wasn't working with Fortune 500 companies. So as a CPA, I always gravitated towards small, creative, entrepreneurial companies. So when I joined the beauty industry, which was maybe 30 years ago, something like that, I came in through distribution. And but as a CFO, and ultimately I became COO, and then I became a salon owner myself. And salon owner, 8 locations, 400 people, very complicated, diverse business, Minnesota and California. Anyway, so when I left that company, that multi-location salon company, I had sort of this insecurity, if you will, the insecurity of being pigeonholed as an accountant and just being a numbers guy. And I knew that I had a pulse in my right brain. I knew there was an element of creativity, and I think people saw that, but I had to prove it to myself. So I took a hiatus after selling my ownership, and very unconsciously and unintentionally, it happened very organically, I found myself taking photographs. And these photographs really had a central theme to it. The theme was shadows. And essentially what I would do is I would take a picture of myself, my shadow projected on landscapes, graffiti, all different places across the world, and ultimately created a photography collection called A Shadow Man. Published a book on it, which I'll show you in a moment, actually exhibited photos. Is it a great work of art, a great work of photography? Probably not. But what it did do is it really taught me composition, editing, visual communication, design. And it really opened up a whole other part of my universe that I kind of had as a kid, but you sort of lose that when you go through, especially if you're a very left-brain career like I was. So anyway, so I had this sort of insecurity, and after becoming a photographer and decided to start Cunity. Cunity was actually born in a graphic design studio, born with an award-winning graphic designer. And I had this point of view after being a salon owner, understanding that a lot of education was taught using spreadsheets. and the biggest fan of a spreadsheet, the creator of that spreadsheet. And I really felt there was an opportunity to bring much more visual communication into educational and consulting and that kind of stuff. So anyway, without dragging the story on too much, I had a very strong background in accounting. And then now I had this experience of learning about a lot of things that relate with design and all of that. So anyway, so before I get to the actual showing you how the name created up. So essentially what you've got is you've got a book of photos called Shadow Man, a little bit hard to see. And then we've got about, I don't know how many bodies of work that really relate to the business aspect. So a lot of bodies of work here, photography, but business and financial management and all that is our jam. All right. So anyway, with that and the founding of Cunity, the big idea was I always felt there's an opportunity to create more unity between the business and the creative professionals. I know when I was running this company, there was all this tension between what corporate wanted to do, the resource center, what they wanted to do in the field, the importance of creativity, but also the importance of business. And it was very wired into this sort of area to step into, which our guests on Lightbulb Moments number 88 will dive into this very deep. And so anyway, I knew I wanted to create a company that would help allow people to not only earn great money, but do what they love and have a great quality of life, and have the organizations not only have great profitability, but an awesome culture and a competitive edge. So here's with the naming. All right. So what we got is we have a pencil, which is a symbol of the left brain. It's a little bit about, reinforcing the business aspects. And also my background as an accountant. And then you have a camera, which is really represents the ability to take a snapshot and hold a moment in time. And it also is also symbolic of creativity, as well as my stint as publishing a body of work. So anyway, with the naming of Cunity, to get to the punchline, essentially what I did was I took the lens cap from a camera. All right, so this isn't a great example, and a pencil. Now this is way out of proportion. And when you put a circle next to a slash, you have the letter Q. And so that was the idea behind the name of Cunity. It really was about creativity and business coexisting in each other. And then, of course, it's a little bit of takeoff on my last name, which is Kuhn, which is spelled with a K. But anyway, I'm so thankful that I had a moment to share that with you, because it really resonated with me during this prep session, how embedded that is into my world, the world of Cunity. And ultimately, I think the world of success by those standards that I mentioned, profitability, culture, and a great competitive edge. So, and I'm going to have some more things to say about that a little bit, but right now, what I'd like to do is pause and welcome Chet and Amber Pope to the screen. Good morning, guys. How are you?
Morning, Tom. How are you?
Good morning.
There's that dynamic dyad. How are the two of you today?
Doing good.
We're good. We like to refer to ourselves, we've said this a few times when we've been in public, that when we're together, what's our name?
She said we. She likes to refer to us as Chamber.
Chamber. We're Chamber.
Chamber. All right. Well, Chamber. I like that. Well, Chamber, that is that's going to stick. All right.
I'm going to make it stick.
She's been working on it.
So yeah, the spending time with the two of you who I've gotten to know through the years, but not as well as I'm going to get to know you in the future, because I see some awesome collaboration coming amongst us. So a spoiler alert for the rest of the universe. But today, let's celebrate the two of you. So a little bit about your backgrounds and your husband and wife. You have a couple of kids. So just do a level set with our audience today, please.
Well, Chet and I met when I was 16. He was 17. We can go all the way that far back. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, it's a true story. We went to high school together. And so I weren't dating in high school or anything like that. We're just really good friends. And I don't know. Years later, we end up getting married. It's been 21 years now. And yeah, I started off kind of my career the most random way possible. I was a roadie for punk bands. and started off as just selling t-shirts and getting to travel the world. And as I grew with them, the band also continued to grow bigger and bigger, which gave me more opportunities from just selling t-shirts to landing in tour management. And I think I mentioned to you before, walking around carrying like, $85,000 cash in my backpack. Um,
Don't
going from there,
recommend.
going from there, it was taxing. We had gotten married and I was gone 9 months out of the year, and I wanted to be home to hang out with my bride. Shocker. I kind of like her. So, um, through touring, I had met a friend who got a job in marketing, for primarily event marketing, for, you know, different companies, for adult beverages and other products and stuff like that. So, he called me up one day. He's like, "Hey, we have a job opening for a regional manager position that you would be perfect for. Are you interested? But you'd have to move to Tampa, Florida." And we had just been married for about a year or so, and we thought it might be kind of a fun adventure to go off on our own. And yeah, so we moved to Tampa. We're out there for 4 years. And before we moved to Tampa, I'll jump into Amber a little bit. She was in nursing. Amber was a pediatric nurse and everything like that. And I hated her hours more than I hated my own, because she was gone for like 12 hours a day, and I would be home from tour and I would just sit at home and play video games. So, anyways, moved to Tampa, got into marketing. That's where Amber found hair.
Hair found me, for the record.
To be fair. So you know, she did that. From there, I went and did a bunch of other nonsense. Worked in corporate America, worked for a big firm, and around COVID time, the firm I was working for ended up laying off my department, and that's when I decided to really kind of take the leap and join Amber on the hair journey. So.
Yeah. We've been a salon owner team. The Salon 27 has been around for 10 years. Been a stylist for 20, but been, owners for 10 years now. And Chet's been full-time part of that journey for now over the last 5 years. So we do it all together. We have 2 kids, as you mentioned, Tom, and we absolutely hold hands, lockstep, and off we go. And we really do support each other, to your point about the duality of things, the yin and the yang, because we couldn't be 2 more different human beings, but we fill the gaps, as you said, make the other one stronger. So that's what we bring to our business and to our family too. So that's
And so
us.
you're down in Mesa, Arizona then, right?
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. And you've been in the business about 10 years, and Amber, been doing hair about 20 years. Okay. And then Chet, yeah, you've got a really cool background. It's very interesting to me, for example, taking data and present it to non-data people and making it more digestible. So we've got some conversations going on that behind the scenes here, but it's really cool. So you stress the importance of leading with your head and your heart. Do you want to talk about that for a little bit? What that means to the 2 of you in your business?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like the conversations that I always look back and reflect on when we think about business ownership, like I did not, for the record, want to open a salon. Like, I'm going to say it right here and now. It was terrifying to me to think about what that responsibility would be. Chet was the one that gave me the courage. And I know a good friend of mine, Kristen Farrell, and I talk about the courageousness of salon ownership, that it takes courage. And the courage was given to me to begin that jump. But it's also the idea that we're an emotional business. We're stylists, we're artists, we're creative, right? And to your point, with that amazing intro that you gave us, is that you need to have stylists be stylists. And that's who I was through and through when we first started our business together. And as we began to grow year after year, I softened Chet in the heart of a hairdresser to help him understand, because his love language is the spreadsheet. He is the one that is like, look at what I made. And then I look at it, my eyes go completely cross.
You
And I'm
did
like,
mention before in the intro about the only person that loves a good spreadsheet is the person who created it. And
it's his love
you're
language.
100% correct on that.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do think that, there were gaps that I needed and had in thinking about the business in a new way. And Chet needed it as, what is the emotional component of it?
I think too, when we first opened, again, I encouraged Amber to open the salon just because she had gone through some really amazing kind of steps throughout her career to get where she was. But after having a couple kids, she went to just, renting a chair and was not really super happy. She really missed the team environment and everything like that. And, looking around in our area, what was convenient for us, like she couldn't really find a place that really fit what she was looking for. So, if you remember the good old Kevin Costner movie, if you build it, they will come, right? And so that was my suggestion. I'm like, then let's just open a salon so you can create what you want. And she was super nervous. And to kind of go back to your question, when we opened it, it was definitely more heart than head. You know what I mean? We we took a jump, but I took definitely kind of a back seat at it when we first opened. And, I helped out a little bit on the back end, but I really left it to Amber. And then we saw some success with it, and it was growing.
Well, I think the heart brings attractivity to clients too. It's a culture, right? You build a culture through emotion and through heart and through giving, and it grew that way.
So
And then we brought in other stylists.
yeah, so we grew the salon, and we were coming up around the end of our lease and trying to decide what we were going to do after the first 5 years. And what was it, a good 6, 8 months before the end of our lease, this little thing called COVID happened. And, we had to shut down for a while. And during that time, we knew that A, our lease was going to be up, and B, that when we reopened, unless we were going to extend our hours to, you know, crazy open early and close late to accommodate all the people wanting to come in, we were going to need a bigger space. And since our lease was going to be up, what better time to search than while we were closed? So Amber and I took the leap and went from like a, what, 1,200, 1,300 square foot space
7 chairs.
with 7 chairs, and signed a lease while we were shut down in COVID on a fancy, shiny building, nearly 3,000 square feet and like 20 chairs. So
We definitely had a game plan with it, and that's where the head really began to, we had to be very cerebral about what our plan was, because we were also bringing in a lot of people too. And I think that also,
people didn't think we were using our head, but I had a plan. We had a plan.
we had a plan.
So let's hold there for a little bit, and I'm going to unpack a few things. First of all, I cannot let a shout out to Kristen Farrell go without me piggybacking on that, because we know what a great leader she is, and all of that. But it also gives me a good sort of a segue into staying deeper in this concept of a dynamic dyad. So there's a book. It's called The Powers of Two. It's about creativity. And it's written by Joshua Wong Shank. And what he really determined in his research and all that stuff, that creativity happens in collaboration, but a very specific collaboration. It happens best in pairs. Uses all sorts of research and examples. And, Paul Mitchell, started as a pair, dynamic duo, correct? And a lot of the examples in the book has to do more or less like with Apple. Apple was founded with a dynamic duo. So was Microsoft. Not to mention Lennon and McCartney, if we're going to throw that in. So it's really the power of two. And it was something that really intrigued me in the conversation I had with you guys, is that the importance of building dyads. Now, the two of you are husband and wife and you're business partners. I have a daughter who's a business partner. But I believe we can have multiple dyads. For example, I had a dyad when I created Cunity. The very first person to get involved with Cunity was an award-winning graphic designer. She was my dyad. So how do you build dyads in your business? Let's say you're an old owner and you don't have a Amber or a Chet, but you're flying solo. Do you have dyads of your own sort of within the business?
We do. I think we have what I always say, like aces in their places. When you like discover a superpower that lives in someone, either we're deliberately pairing them up,
Mhm.
or sometimes it's awesome because I think that is a thing, Tom. Like it is a natural connection that happens, and that's going to be in stylist to stylist. It happens like leadership to protege. That's going to happen.
I mean, I think I mean, obviously the two of us
Mhm.
are that, but I feel like even in our organization, we'll split off and have it with, others as well. Like Amber, whenever she has an assistant, like they're paired up
Right.
and they're on key. For me, I don't do hair, so that's not it. But like we have Bella who has turned into our marketing manager, handles all that. Like me and her, I feel like really we'll split off and just brainstorm and connect. And again, I think separately, like we both can do fine, but when we work together is when we come up with the best ideas.
Creates this great infrastructure of growth that happens. And we have support that happens even outside of our doors that help to create tools that will grow the team as a whole, but we're working really powerfully together in those two units. It is kind of interesting to see as the team gets bigger too. You sort of see the natural splintering of it, but all with like the greater good because everybody's got the same vision. Because from day one, like for the record, I know we were talking about it was always like the heart was there with Salon 27, but from day one, the infrastructure was built in from the jump. We knew what the vision was, we knew what the mission was going to be. It was just took the time to grow it and cultivate it to what it's become now. But to your point, there is a lot of powers in two for sure that live in our business.
Yeah, people don't talk about that. I've learned through the years that, the examples I gave were pretty dramatic, like Jobs and Steve or Wozniak, or I'm sorry, whatever his last name is from Apple, excuse me for the pronunciation. But on a more organic level, that can happen on a daily basis. Why not have 10 dyads for one specific thing? And it's really a topic I don't think people talk about, talk about collaboration and all that, but they don't talk about the importance of creativity and results happening in pairs, and you might have 10 of them. So I don't want to digress, but
But sometimes it's even us growing with our brand partners. You know what I mean? Like the
yeah,
dyad being Salon 27 and Paul Mitchell. Like
sure.
when we partner with them together, like we've seen growth and everything for our
Amazing
business. So
things
sometimes it's not just two people, sometimes it's multiple units
Totally.
that are together.
And even
Yeah.
our salon too, we offer every single client that comes into our doors gets a group consultation. That means a client is seeing a dyad happen in real time. Like that's just baked into what we do. Two professionals over one client, like there's a lot of strength in getting the client to be fully satisfied at the end of their result because two people were involved in this amazing result.
Yeah. Well, I've always been fascinated with the subject of dynamic duos or dynamic dyads, and it's not talked about as much. And you bring up a great point in terms of collaborating with your partners. We just performed a major study on profitability, and one of my findings is that lean into your partners, lean into your beauty brands, your distributors, your manufacturers, and lean into your tech partners, because small businesses, the two of you know, is not easy. And, you have to be ready for things to be thrown at you, and staying resilient is so important. So,
100%. I mean, again, I think that was one of the things that right off the bat we kind of learned quickly is, find those partners that want to work with you. And when they're offering things, utilize it. Like we just had one of our, partners that we do some stuff with, they had a class coming through a couple days ago and offered us some free tickets for our staff to go and for it was a cutting workshop and we jumped on that to make sure like, hey guys, here's some extra education, who's interested in going, and everyone everyone was excited to be able to get the tickets to go. So again, anytime we can get anything from our partners, we try to jump on it and really make the most out of it. If they're willing to offer it, we want to be gracious enough to accept it and really take from it what we can to help grow.
But I also think to cultivate it, Tom, is really important. So the second that you see an alignment in your values and what your wants are, what your mission is, that's the heart. Like our relationship specifically with Paul Mitchell came because I was inspired and my heart was like, this is the place that is going to, I have to be part of it. Just have to. And if you lean in, then that's when all of these amazing things end up happening. So I think they're everywhere for everyone. You just have to have your eyes open to it and be listening for the signs that say, hey, this is the lane. That's your person, that's your partner, that's your business, next move. And I think being open to it is really, really important. So I'm always like in tune to the universe to tell me where.
Right on. Chet, you cracked me up when you said that you were a punk rock band tour accountant. I don't know that I've ever met, and I may never meet another punk rock band tour accountant.
It's funny. I think someone's got to count the money, right?
Well, I'm gonna also use this as an excuse to tell another story here that many people know, but you guys don't know, and I'm gonna sneak this one in. I was a hot dog stand accountant. All right.
Nice.
So just a quick story because a lot of people know this and they're bored by it. But so when I was 10, our family inherited a business from my maternal grandfather, and it was 750 miles away from our home. It was only open 1 week a year, which is the week we're supposed to be at school, and had like no chance of ever making any money. So we inherited a hot dog stand at the South Dakota State Fair, 750 miles away from my home in Chicago. And we ran that hot dog stand for 94 years. Here, I got a little plaque here, okay? Shorty's Hot Dog Stand as a family business. Anyway, so 7 kids, and I was the one that was entrusted with the money, the counting the money and all that, which I think is how I ended up becoming an accountant, by the way. So anyway, we both have this quirky background here. We'll have to share stories of accounting in an unconventional environment, right?
100%.
So,
in a box.
so Amber, what drives you? I mean, when you put those 2 feet on the floor in the morning, what are the first things coming? What are you thinking and feeling?
My number one core cultural value that I possess and also celebrate within the team is passion. Like every morning I wake up with this like driving passion, like what's going to happen, excitement for what's next. And then I also pinch myself and then pinch Chet too, just to make sure that we're both awake and that we're grateful because our business is everything. The life we built is everything. And every morning I wake up and I'm like, all right, we did that last day. Let's do it again. Here we go. And where are we going to drive to for the next 24 hours, into the next week, into the next 6 months, into the next 6 years? So passion fuels everything. And I'm also in tune to when I'm around someone who maybe their passion, it feels like someone threw a wet blanket over it. And how do we cultivate a little bit of spark to reignite it? And I lead the team that way. So everything that we do, whether we're talking numbers or not, or where we're talking artistry, it's passion through and through, head to toe. That's how I start my day.
That's a pretty darn good answer. And I see that and feel that with from you, Amber. I mean, you have a very contagious, passion. Passion is contagious, passion's contagious, and we all get that contagiousness from you. What about you there, Mr. Chet?
I think my main thing is growth. For me, I don't know that I've ever been content with anything in my life except for Amber, really.
Yeah, I was hoping you would throw that in, please.
Yeah. 21 years of marriage, you know what I mean? And going strong. But no, to me, like I don't ever look at I don't ever hit a goal, I hit a milestone. And so for me, like, whenever whenever we get somewhere, it's like, I'm always looking what's next. When we first opened the salon, I remember like the first time we hit like $250,000 for gross for the year, like we just did $250,000 sales, just like randomly opening up a salon. This is great. But like obviously we didn't want to stop there. The first time we hit $1 million in sales, right? Cool. A lot of people are like, we did it. And I'm like, all right, what's next? 1.2, right? We got to keep going. And so for me, like there's not really yet never ever an end. And so like what gets me up and what gets me going is what's that next milestone?
Mm. Well, congratulations on being newlyweds at 21 years from a guy that is now celebrating a year 38. So,
You got almost double us.
you know, it's really fun to connect with people like yourself, because you really do embody this dynamic dyad, you live it, you breathe it. And even the answers to each of you and what gets you up in the morning is super complementary, but also very different from each other,
Yeah, and again, I think that's what really makes it work. Again, kind of going back to before I took as big of a role in the company, you know, we we ran with it, and Amber was doing a fantastic job really building the foundation of our business. But when she finally convinced me to join her, and I'm not going to say it, she's looking at me because I would say something and she always gets mad when I say it. But when she finally convinced me to join, um,
Kicking and screaming.
okay, she pulled me in kicking and screaming into the beauty industry. And but when we did, we started seeing a lot more rapid growth. And it's not because of me, but because of us.
Yeah.
It wasn't me bringing it to the table, but it was like it was Voltron finally coming together to be the force that we like to try to be.
Yeah.
And again, we bring out the best in each other, I think. She's better, but so and that's what's kind of brought us success. And I feel like that's what makes the few people that seem interested in listening to anything we have to say is what it is. It's not, they don't care what I have to say. They probably care a little bit more what Amber has to say. But I think together is what they really want to hear.
Are we Ray and Kylo Ren? Were that dyad?
I don't know.
No.
Luke and Han.
Okay, we'll be looking on.
What else would you want to impart with our listeners in terms of maybe things you're passionate about or certain projects before we wrap up today?
I have to say, we are so passionate about really implementing growth to our team for the bigger picture, right? Like it matters for the salon, it truly does. But when you have the ability as a leader to find a way to share their numbers so they can digest it, whatever that looks like, to find their both professional and personal goals within your organization, that is when you're able to do far more even outside of your company. So to be truly growth minded, it doesn't just stop for us at Salon 27 at our door. Our team, once they are financially sound, they are happy, they're fueled passionately as artists, they're able then to go out and work in our community and celebrate successes out there, drive benefits out there in our community. And so I think for us, it began so small. And how do I inspire one team member to like find their passion and grow? To now we're doing things that are like, I mean, we have a huge team and we're out there spreading much more of that ability and out there everywhere, outside of our doors.
I think part of it too is it helps inspire our team to also give back. We like to do a lot of charitable things, with our salon, with different organizations around. And the great thing is that, we bring in people and help grow them and get them in places, and it makes them want to give back too. So, Amber and I, do as much as we can, the two of us, but our team really jumps on and jumps in and helps out with a lot of stuff too. So there's some more organizations around town that again we don't stand on a soapbox and say, hey, look at what we do. We're not doing it for that. We're not doing it for recognition. We do it for the community and because it feels good. And so, it's nice to see when like we get a call and we're like, hey, blah, blah, blah needs blah, blah, blah. And we get multiple people that are like, I'm more than happy to go do that as soon as I get off work or things like that. And so again, to me, it's part of growth, but it's helping, others kind of see that in themselves to be able to help the community.
I think too, for us as we grow our team too, there's the superpower that that half of our team wants to hear like Chet's insight for what their growth is. They like really hone in on what he's saying. And then the other half is like, okay, Amber's my person to help me with that. And then we kind of like wash over a little bit on each one of them, but we found ways and we're always looking to continue to find ways of what's important to them. How do we deliver the information that needs to be delivered to them and, provide an environment that they can truly flourish in? Because that's what I wanted as a stylist. That's always what I wanted. And so for anybody who's out there that is salon owner thinking about like, how do I inspire my team and how do I grow my team? What does that look like? What's your inspiration and share that.
What fuels you? I think that's a good takeaway. What's made us have success is that Amber built a salon that she wanted to work in. And
Right.
she treats everybody how she wants to be treated. And
Guys,
she's forced me to do the same thing. So
okay, let's everybody give these guys a virtual round of applause. Thanks to both of you. What a great conversation. You will each be getting I think we send one to each of you, $1 million light bulb. And that officially makes you part of the Brain Trust, which, by the way, if I can sneak this in here, we will have a celebration of light bulb moments. This is my Phil orange color, and we will be awarding 2 golden light bulbs. And so the fill is coming up. If you have not signed up for the fill, we've already got a fantastic turnout, great content, whatever. We will be seeing these two. We will be seeing this dynamic duo at
either.
Wonderful. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for being such great guests, Amber and Chet. Love getting to know you guys. We're going to get to know you even a little bit more, but keep doing what you're doing. Keep being such a great dyad, and we will catch you very soon in person. So
Thanks for having us, Tom.
you bet.